Warm greetings. Today let's review a case of malaria. It is mid-September. TY, a 26-year-old Indian male, presents to the clinic with complaints of fever, myalgia and malaise since 3 days. Just yesterday he noted abrupt chills that is followed by an episode of high-grade fever, headache and nausea until it reduced in a few hours. A repeated incident of the same is what brought him to the clinic. So physical examination was done. Overall high temperature with tachycardia and tachypnea is noted. Laboratory investigation was also initiated and the following was observed. We can see evident signs of hemolysis, that is a characteristic of malaria here, and a positive smear for P. falciparum. So we all have a background of what the patient is providing evidences of. Let's evaluate the case. What factors incline the case of TY towards malaria? That's the first question we're supposed to answer. See, malaria represents the most devastating disease in terms of human suffering and economics. With the presumption of you knowing the basics of how malaria happens to be, there are 4 factors to consider in this case that can be attributable to the development of the condition. The first being India. India is known to be an endemic for malaria. Next is the cyclical paroxysmal episodes of fever and chills. That is also a classic presentation of malaria. Thirdly, the presence of thrombocytopenia and jaundice. And the final identification of Plasmodium falciparum gametocytes in TY's blood confirm the diagnosis of malaria. Now, delving into the basics, what actually causes malaria? Of course, malaria is transmitted by the bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito that introduces the sporozoite of the Plasmodia into the bloodstream. Now, it's the Plasmodia that causes the malaria. Fun fact, did you know a mosquito can actually drink up to 3 times its weight in blood? Wait, moving on. There are actually 4 Plasmodium species known to cause human malaria. Number 1, Plasmodium falciparum. Next, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium ovale. Plasmodium falciparum is the most lethal one. Please remember that. The next question here is, how should the diagnosis be confirmed? As in the case of TY, demonstration of the asexual forms of the parasite on the peripheral blood smear is required for diagnosis, and we have it. But to ensure a positive diagnosis, blood smears should be obtained every 12 to 24 hours for 3 consecutive days. And once you have started the therapy, the presence of parasites in the blood 3 to 5 days after the initiation of therapy actually suggests drug resistance, because why are the parasites present when we are giving the medicine? The medicine is supposed to work. The medicine is not working. That's why the parasites are present, right? Now that we are certain of the diagnosis, let's find out how TY should be managed. Plasmodium falciparum malaria is the most severe form of malaria there can be. It has a high mortality rate. You ask why? It's because unlike other Plasmodium species, Plasmodium falciparum infects all types of RBCs, from the immature young ones to the old mature RBCs. The fever spikes tend to be relatively higher, and the complications are also more common with falciparum. The patient can have vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, hypoglycemia, renal failure, and even encephalopathy. So monitoring is essential. In the case of TY, he being very ill and nauseous, he should certainly be admitted and started on IV quinidine, because IV quinidine is the drug of choice for Plasmodium falciparum malaria. And I cannot emphasize this enough, but when a patient is put on quinine or quinidine, monitoring is mandatory. You have to just monitor. Look for ECGs, blood pressure, serum glucose on a regular basis. Supportive care should be provided, that is fluid intake and IV dextrose 5% or 10%, electrolyte management, etc. The serum concentration of quinidine should also be monitored because it's a narrow therapeutic index drug, and it should remain between the range of 6.1 to 16.5 micromoles per liter. Please remember the range. When appropriate, TY can be switched to oral therapy, and he should receive oral quinine sulfate 650 mg 3 times a day to complete a 3 to 7 day of the total therapy. So a last follow-up question, what would be the management if TY had CRPF? CRPF being chloroquine-resistant Plasmodium falciparum. In case TY does not respond to quinine therapy and shows signs of resistance within the first 2 to 3 days of therapy, and how he does that is by, continued fever during this period or failure to reduce parasitemia by 25% of baseline, it is good to actually start an add-on therapy to quinine, and that can be either doxycycline or clindamycin, where doxycycline being 100 mg twice daily for 7 days and clindamycin being 900 mg 3 times daily for 5 days. Thankfully, TY did not have a resistant case and made a full recovery heading back home. Now let's recall everything with a nerdy enough to take away from this. First, malaria is one of the most important parasitic disease that is known to cause significant human suffering. It affects about 300 to 500 million people annually and is responsible for 1 to 2 million deaths worldwide. It is transmitted by the bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito that introduces the tissue parasites of the disease, causing Plasmodia into the bloodstream. There are 4 known species, that is P. falciparum, Vivax, malaria, and ovale. Thirdly, Plasmodium falciparum malaria is the most severe form with a high mortality rate. It's because unlike other Plasmodium species, falciparum infects all types of RBCs found at different stages of development. The fever spikes tend to be very high, and complications including confusion, vomiting, diarrhea, severe abdominal pain, hypoglycemia, renal failure, and encephalopathy are relatively common. Lastly, IV quinidine is the drug of choice for Plasmodium falciparum malaria. ECG, blood pressure, serum glucose should be monitored. Supportive care should be provided. Quinidine levels should remain between 6.1 to 16.5 micromoles per liter. And when appropriate, switch to oral therapy. Also, look out for drug resistance and manage accordingly. With this, we have understood malaria, and I will be signing off. Yours sincerely, the Nerd.